Alrighty guys, welcome back. We are watching episode 4 of Nisemonogatari. Last time, we met Kaiki, who was quite the interesting fellow, and Aragi was freed from his captivity. And we are going to see what help his little sisters need. He has another person he needs to help, doesn't he? So, yeah, I'm hoping I have time. Man, I have been busy. I'm going to be moving soon. And yeah, it's been a whole headache. I'm hoping I can keep the schedule of everything up, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. Hopefully, I'll be able to. It's been rough finding time to record, but I got time now, thankfully. So I guess we'll just get into it. We are starting episode 4. You can line your own copy up with this if you want to, but we are starting in 3, 2, 1. The moon. That is what she said. She's sweating. Ooh. Oh, she got a haircut, and she doesn't have glasses. Hmm. Well, I don't know about that. I feel like the relationship between siblings is different than a parent and child. Also, why is Hanakawa here? I guess she did call Senjugahara. That weird conversation. Oh, it's so good to see Hanakawa again. Aragi's been getting used to being bitten by Hajikuji, so I don't know. Helping them with it? It's a weird bed. Interesting. About what exactly? Can we please get a rundown of the situation? Whoa. Interesting. Lots about being right or not. Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. It's being strong. Hmm. Nisemono. Man, we got a whole lot of fakes, don't we? Interesting. They're right, but they aren't strong. Hmm. I don't know. I'm just thinking about how you can apply that to Aragi himself as well. Or maybe the opposite, but I don't know. Well, I don't know. I guess it depends what you think of as strength. I like this opening. It's very unique. Just, I don't know. It looks very different, I feel like, than the other openings. When are we gonna figure out what's up with this bee, huh? I'm guessing that has something to do with whatever's going on here. But I mean, it's been 3 episodes. We still haven't seen the. Oh, I gotta read that. Man, I keep forgetting. Very. It is very different. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Oh, she looks so good. I like the haircut. Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow. I agree. Mm-hmm. Most certainly. I like how they're still showing the. Yeah, even though she got a haircut. Could he get these handcuffs off? We're really keeping them consistent. Please. Mm-hmm. From Nautico. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So they were doing things even for other people anyway? Nautico just made it worse for herself by activating it. Mm-hmm. Did they find out? Ooh. Yeah, what is going around with them? It's interesting that she's involved with them, though. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. She does like to get involved. Hmm. All right. Oh, yeah. Yep. It's Kaiki. Interesting. So Kaiki is the one spreading the curses. But why? He's okay, that's weird. I don't know. This is a weird bathroom. What did they didn't do anything wrong, did they? I mean, I get okay. It's just him being hypocritical and weird, like obviously. Ah. Yeah, but what did you talk about exactly? Please. I doubt it. I doubt that you did, but sure. Okay. I all right. Fantastic. Great. Awesome. 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 Fantastic. That is great. Oh, okay. Hi, Shinobu. What? Okay. What's up? I kind of forgot she was just still in his shadow. Oh. And she's speaking again. Uh-huh. It sure is. Uh-huh. Kinda. Yeah. What is that? Got bored. Hmm. What does that mean? Man, this is all right. Okay. Shinobu's back, I guess. Hmm. 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 It's like what Araragi said at the end of Kizu. But yeah. Hmm. Trying to avoid the conversation, maybe? I don't know. I mean, she's talking again, so I feel like in some way that's the first step to acknowledging their relationship, I suppose. Hmm. Okay. I guess we aren't addressing it, are we? I guess what would you say though, you know? Hmm. Oh, his face. Is that what you were doing, thinking this whole time? Hmm. Oh God. I mean, there's so many things I wish they would say to each other, but oh God, I don't know. Well, I guess. Ah, God. I what? Okay. Like just how? Oh man, this really changes a lot. I think a wreath fire bee. Well, here's the bee. I guess she is colossal compared to Shinobu. Okay, interesting. All right. So Shinobu was really just like pretending and sulking, like for real, that whole time. Okay. And Karen does seem, yeah, I feel like that kind of fits the symptoms we've seen of Karen already, the fever. Hmm. But how, I mean, what is it? Is it like a curse? I mean, like, you know, we haven't had aberrations that just, attack someone for no reason, you know. There's always a reason behind it. Mm-hmm. He is. Well, I don't know if I would call it being tough. I don't know. Former class president. Oh, because, yeah, she doesn't wear glasses anymore. She can't be the class president. Yeah, me neither. I don't. That sounds weird, right? I mean, I guess there would. Mm-hmm. True, true. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. If he's a con man and a fake, no reason a fake can't do what the real thing would. Hmm. Hmm. Is that what they mean by fake, though? By con man? Hmm. Eat the disease? I don't think so. Hmm. He would just, she would just sit there silently sulking as he would ramble on to her. 400 years, huh? That's when you had the first minion, wasn't it? Or when he was around. Oh god. All right. Okay. So we're getting into it. All right. Fantastic. That would not be good. Awesome. Fantastic. Is that her that's her real motivation for deciding to start talking again? um uh okay. Uh, great. What's the plan? Oh, okay. Great. Just gonna gaslight her. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. She brought like a shield too. You would think they could fit more than one bathtub in this giant bath that takes up their entire house. Yeah, she didn't even close the door. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, we don't know how long your lifespan will be. Yeah. Whoa. Hmm. Talking from personal experience, maybe. She said she used to be human in Kizu. Hmm. Oh. Hmm. No chance, right? Yeah. Oh. Mm-hmm. Interesting. He's not ready to really, yeah, not really ready to discuss it either properly. I guess what would he say, We live until we die. Hmm. You've had the opportunity to do that, and you haven't. Oh. Hmm. I guess you could call it that, a reconciliation. Oh man, that is the fastest any episode has gone by. ever. I swear to God. Oh, man, that was good. That was a good episode. Shinobu is back. Oh, man, that was. I'm gonna have to think so much about all of that. That whole, like, I don't know, just everything they were saying to each other there. Obviously, hmm, I don't know. It is, somewhat surprising to me that Shinobu is willing to, bridge the gap like this. In a way, it's like it's her, um, you know, now the realization that she was faking it, or I mean, not really faking it, but she was kind of playing it up and just moping that entire time, um, pretty much pretending not being able to speak. It's surprising that she had this change of heart, because in a way, it's like admitting she was wrong, I guess, or her behavior was wrong. Hi, Hanakawa. Okay, true. You used to hear that a lot from who? Okay, sure. Do you read dictionaries often? Yeah, completely lose yourself in a dictionary. Awesome. Yeah, how relatable. Awesome, awesome. All right, man, that was a good episode. We will talk about it in the discussion. All right, let's talk about the episode. We were reunited with Hanakawa and Shinobu after, a long 4 episodes of not having them. Um, Man, this was a very good episode. I think this is one of my favorite episodes of everything so far. I don't know. It's hard to make a ranking, obviously, but that was such a good episode. It just feels like God. I don't know if I should call it a payoff. Aragi and Shinobu talking again because it's not like anything was really resolved, but in a way, Shinobu's willingness to stop moping and speak again is enough, right? Hmm. Well, all right, let's talk about all this first. I don't like so Hanakawa has been helping the Fire Sisters, which for one, right off the bat, I don't want okay, now I gotta say this carefully because I don't want to sound like I'm being like mean to Hanakawa, but Hanakawa, we know Hanakawa throughout what happened in Bake and Tsubasa Cat, that, she obviously is in love with Araki, right? And she's really not against saying and doing things, especially through the form of Black Hanakawa, but even beyond just when she's Black Hanakawa, she's not really against saying and doing things that are kind of almost underhanded, right? Like that way she was suggesting to Aragi that everyone only loves him because of um, the vampire charisma charm thing, right? Like that's kind of a very awful thing to say to someone. Um, I almost wonder if just her wanting to get so close to the Fire Sisters is in relation to that, right? Her saying that it started happening after summer vacation. I mean, that was right after, that's right after Subasa Cat and all that stuff happened. Obviously, she doesn't have any memory of that, but I don't know. It just makes me wonder if it's more her actions are still, since she doesn't have any memory of what happened over Subasa Cat, um, I guess I shouldn't expect that anything that she's doing has really changed since Bake, right? Because what was she doing all through Bake? I mean, like that scene in the library, stuff like that, right? Um, it's like, is she still just kind of in that mode? Is this, trying to get this kind of futile attempt to get Aragi to pick her, despite her not reaching out to Aragi in any meaningful way because like she can't do that, because of the way she is. Um, if she is still doing that, I just wonder if her becoming so close to the Fire Sisters is just a further extension of that kind of behavior that we saw from her throughout Bake. I mean, as and there's this whole stuff about her saying that stuff to Senjigahara about how she'll you know it was framed as a joke, her telling Senjigahara that she'll ask Aragi to be her boyfriend if she doesn't do what she wants, but Senjigahara is obviously taking it very seriously. And I think that's just because, like Hajikuji's brought it up before, how it's weird that Aragi is dating Senjigahara instead of Hanakawa. And as a viewer, it really is like that in a way too. Obviously, we have the context of Aragi and Senjigahara's relationship to rely on, so like we know how meaningful their relationship is, and how like it would be crazy for Aragi to like break up with Senjigahara and start dating Hanakawa instead at this point, right? But from an outsider perspective, as we've seen from like Hajikuji, and probably the same type of thing that Hanakawa's like playing up with when she's asking Senjigahara, when she's telling Senjigahara that she'll ask Aragi to be her boyfriend. To most people, it's like they would expect Aragi and Hanakawa to be dating, right? Like, even in this scene when Aragi asks Hanakawa to go to his room, Karen starts making fun of him for it, that he's trying to get her alone in his room. Um, so like, I guess it's just man, and just alongside all of the stuff that we saw in Kizu, with how honestly understandable Aragi's extreme connection to Hanakawa is. I'm not saying his crazy debt and his idea that he owes his life to her is exactly right, but she did save his life in a way, right? She's the one who made him open up and connect with people, right? So in that sense, it really is, ignoring what we've already seen about Hanakawa. I mean, what we've already seen about Aragi and Senjigahara's relationship and how meaningful it is. It's like, it really is weird that he's not dating Hanakawa. I just wonder, like, something had to have changed at some point between Kizu and the beginning of Bake. Like, if you think about that one scene in the end of Kizu 2, when they're talking in, like, the big field of wheat or whatever. I mean, I guess, a lot of stuff happened after that. And I guess it's possible that in some way, uh, if Aragi would have been fine being emotionally attached in a romantic way, maybe to Hanakawa by the end of Kizu 2, I guess it's possible that the events of Kizu 3 changed his mind in some way. Because obviously Kizu 3, has a very bad ending, for Aragi and for his mental state about the connection with other people. So I guess it's possible that alone is just what changed his mind so much. And the fact that Senjigahara pretty much forced herself on him almost is the only thing that's made a difference. And Hanakawa is unable to do that. So I guess it's possible that that's the only difference. So that's the only reason why Aragi and Hanakawa never, got together in between Kizu and Bake. But I don't know. I just think it's interesting to think about, because it's obviously all the other characters in the show think the same thing, in the story. They think the same thing, that Aragi should be dating Hanakawa, and then it's weird that he's not. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's interesting to think about, I guess. So Aragi says this stuff about, how the Fire Sisters are right, but they're not strong. Which, like, if you're not strong, you'll lose. They aren't strong enough. And Hanakawa even brings it up herself later about how it's like he's talking about himself, right? That's kind of been a running theme throughout Nisei so far, right? Is that there's these two sisters that at least Karen is very similar to Aragi. Like, very, very similar. And Aragi keeps pretending that they aren't similar. And in a way, that's just because of the way Aragi views himself in relation to other people. He kind of always does that. He has this unfair double standard where he treats himself differently, but not really in like a good way. He treats himself with less value than others, you know? So it's like he can see the ridiculousness of Karen's actions, or the potential ridiculousness of them, and he can see it for what it is and how silly she's being. But he doesn't see it for himself, you know? Um, so it's like, and that's kind of been a running thing, you know, like when he thought, I think it was last episode or 2 episodes ago, he thought at some point it's like, oh, I'm nothing like the Fire Sisters, you know, even though he very clearly is. um but yeah, Hanakawa brings it up about how it's like he's talking about himself here, and I very much agree. Like, it's, you guys are right, but you're not strong. And I'm just trying to think, like, that idea of being right but not being strong enough to win, like, what is that? How can you apply that to Araragi's past actions? You know, if Araragi is essentially talking to himself in this moment, you know, like the big thing, the biggest defining moment for Araragi's character is his decision at the end of Kizu 3, right? To not save Kissshot, to not kill her, you know. Is that him being right but not being strong enough? Like, I don't know. I guess I can think. Yeah, I feel like you could apply that either way. I guess it depends on what you think being right is, you know? Because you could say it would have been right for him to kill Kissshot, um, but at the same time, you can say it's wrong because, I mean, how is the correct option to ever kill someone who's suicidal? You know? Um, oh God, I don't know. Hmm, right, but not strong. I guess an easier one to apply it to through Aragi's past actions is kind of just everything in Bake, right? Um, all of the arcs in Bake ended in a way that doesn't really solve the problem for any of the characters of any of the arcs. You know, it really just pushed it aside, or, you know, didn't really address it at all. Um, and I guess, and from Aragi's point of view, you could take that to be him being right, that he's helping these people with their problems, but he's not strong enough, and that he doesn't actually solve the problem for them, you know. And I think Aragi views it that way too. I think he fully views everything that happened in Bake as a failure for the most part, you know. You know, we've talked about that quite a bit, but yeah, I think he views everything, him helping everyone that he helps in Bake was a failure. And I guess if he was stronger, he thinks that if he was stronger in some way, he would have been able to, you know, be the hero and actually help them, you know. I really want to apply it in some way to his actions in Kizu, but I guess I just don't know how. I don't know how I would apply it. Because I guess you could take the idea of strength and you could apply that to emotional strength. You know how, like, the reason why Araragi doesn't kill Kissshot is because of this, you know, idea of empathy, for another person that Araragi would view as like weakness, right? I think that would go against his whole idea of, you know, his strength as a human, you know. Um, so I almost wonder if in his mind he thinks, especially with the way Shinobu is up until this episode, you know, being this, seemingly being this husk that sits around and doesn't talk, couldn't talk. That's what it seemed like, right? And can't do anything, right? It's like, I wonder if he thinks he should have killed her, that should have been better, and he's just not strong enough to have done it, you know? Because I guess he does apologize to her at the end of Kizu 3, you know? Um, he tells her that she can just kill him instead, you know? But in a way, I guess that's just a further extension of it, right? He's pushing it off onto her, because he, in his mind, isn't strong enough to do it, you know? Of course, not that I'm agreeing with him. I think either one is like awful. I think they should both be alive. So, you know, that's seems like a better solution to me, especially with the revelation in this episode that the Shinobu, was kind of playing it up, the whole being a husk of a vampire who can't do anything. So, let me read this. When it comes to comparing the Araragi sisters, the Fire Sisters, it's undeniable that Karen, who does the fighting, attracts more attention. However, that gives the false impression that Skihi is the good little sister, and I want to avoid that. True. There was the you know, the characterization we got of Skihi as being the one who throws crazy fits and stuff. Back in the days when Karen, Skihi, and I were in elementary school, I recall that Karen got into some kind of trouble. They weren't called the Fire Sisters back then, and they often acted separately. In any case, something happened and Karen got cornered. Skihi jumped off the roof of the school without hesitation to save her. I don't know if it was luck or if she calculated it precisely, but she landed on the roof of a truck that was randomly parked there. What? She survived, but her image as a mature, introverted person was ruined in a flash. Okay, yeah, Of course, she broke several bones, and she still has the scars from her honor wounds, as she prefers to call them. I was really surprised when she didn't lose a single friend to do that. Interesting. Anyway, Skihi is extreme, and she's capable of suppressing that extremity without being aware of it. This means that whenever she throws a fit, it isn't simply histrionics, but her running wild intentionally. She runs wild intentionally. Interesting. Is something so dangerous even possible? The problem, then, lies not in her throwing fits, but in the true wildness lying behind them. That is the essence of who she truly is. Interesting. Alright. I don't know what to make of any of that, to be frank, but I don't know. I'll think about it, I guess. Hanakawa. So Hanakawa is over here being me and psychoanalyzing Araragi, because, like, this is what I was talking about, like, 2 episodes ago, with, like, the way he treats Nadeko compared to everyone else, at least, you know? Like, the way he views Nadeko as, like, this helpless, like, victim who, you know, he has to help, and how, you know, his reaction to her and the way he treats her is a reflection of that, obviously, you know? So, man, I don't know. Hanakawa is making me think I gotta think about that in relation to everyone else. I mean, obviously, that's kind of obvious. Like, the idea that the way he acts and treats people is a reflection of the way he views them. Like, I mean, that's, you know, that's just how, like, relationships work. So, like, obviously, you know, but I don't know. It makes me feel like there's some more connections I could make that I haven't thought of, I guess. And yeah, Hanakawa brings up, you know, that he was talking about himself. I completely agree. He does bother himself, very much so. So in a way, it's kind of like, yet again, God, it's really making me think, like, you know how in Mayoi Snail and Bake, that was pretty much an Araragi arc, you know, the core emotional thing in that arc that needed to be resolved was Araragi's mental state. And I'm wondering if yet again that's what we're getting into now with this arc, you know, because Karen is kind of just a representation of him and his actions, you know. And I guess in the first episode we did, in a way, get an emotional struggle kind of that needs to be resolved, right? Which is Araragi's feeling that he needs to tell his family about him being a vampire, right? Which, like, to me, that speaks to, like, an underlying idea that he doesn't fit in with his family, right? Which we've talked about that before. About in Mayoi Snail, that was literally like the same thing, right? About how he feels like he was a failure, he shouldn't be around. That's kind of what it is now, still, right? Like, this idea that he's a vampire, that he's, you know, that he doesn't fit in with his family anymore because he's a vampire. I guess that's kind of just an extension of that same thing that we were talking about in Mayoi Snail, you know? So I wonder if that will be somehow resolved throughout this arc as well. Just like how in Mayoi Snail that same kind of thing happened, you know? And how Hajikuji's connection to her parents kind of mirrored his own struggle with that, you know? And Karen's actions, you know, are mirroring his actions. Yeah, you know, you get what I mean. Anyway, I like how they show her, what do you even call these? Pigtails? I don't know, they aren't pigtails, are they? I don't know, her braids, I guess. I like how they still show them. They would show shots of them like that all the time in Bake, even though she doesn't have them anymore. So I already talked about Hanakawa. Let me read this stuff on the TV, because I did not read it before. Oh no, Aragi, don't bring that up to other people. Is always in her uniform. She is always in her uniform, isn't she? We've seen her in her pajamas once, I guess. Yeah, it's literally. Okay. Anyway, so we talk about how, yeah, so the Fire Sisters are looking into the curses being spread. It's Kaiki who's doing it, which is like, sure, interesting, I guess. I don't know. I really don't know what to think about that because we've been told he's a fake. We've been told he's a con man and a fake. And you know, it was my understanding. I thought about this about how like Oshino was talking about how the curses that were being spread at the middle school and Nautico Snake wouldn't have done anything to Nautico if she hadn't like activated it herself. So that was making me think like, okay, let's say these curses are fake then. And if Kaiki's the one spreading them, that like makes sense, right? Because he's a fake, he's a con man, he's a fraud. So he's spreading these curses that don't actually do anything. But apparently they actually are doing something. Because that's what Hanakawa says. She says they're having an impact on people's relationships. So, I don't know, because, yeah, she says Nautico wasn't the only victim. So, I guess the curses actually are doing something. And then Kaiki has also apparently afflicted Karen with this reef fire bee. So, I don't know. Is he a fake or not? I guess that's the idea, right? What is a fake? I don't know. Because Shinobu talks about that in a minute too. So, So, oh yeah, and then here we talk about this. I talked about this as well already earlier about this whole Hanakawa Senjukahara thing, which it feels kind of meta in a way. This whole thing about how like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like there has to be some deeper reason for Aragi's like the way he views Hanakawa, not as a romantic interest, that I've picked up on, but I don't know what it would be. Um, I don't know. I talked about it enough earlier. And Shinobu is here, which like, cool. I wonder why. I wonder for one. I wonder why now she decides. Is it because? Is it just because she knows what's wrong with Karen? Right. Obviously, she already knew. She knew it was the Reef Fire Bee. She got all this information from Oshino. So is it just that nice and like lighthearted of a reason, that she wants to help Araragi with this situation? Because if it is the Reef Fire Bee that Kaiki has inflicted her with, well, Shinobu knows what it is at least. Yeah. So like, first I want to talk about they're naked, right? Obviously, right. This is indeed a bath scene, and they are both naked, but it isn't like sexualized at all, right? Other than like a tiny moment when Shinobu's like teasing Araragi. It isn't like sexualized at all, which is very interesting. So like the first thing to talk about before I talk about the sexualization, just like the idea that they were both naked, and in this moment, they're both connecting with each other again for the first time in 3-4 months, however long it's been since Kizu. So in a way, I mean, there's the obvious like literary meaning behind it of them both being naked in the sense that they're both opening up to each other. At least certainly Shinobu is opening up. Shinobu is a lot more open about herself and her motivations in this conversation than Araragi is, that's for sure. He shuts down the conversation real quick at the end. But it's they're both nude, and in that sense they're both, it's just the idea of nothing hiding their emotions, and they're talking to each other. They're opening up to each other. So like that's the obvious first like meaning behind the fact that this is a bath scene, right? The other is the thing I've talked about. I mean, I guess it's just like the thing we're doing from now on. This whole thing about Araragi and his reaction to different characters when he's in a potentially sexualized situation with them, like this, Like, we talked about this in relation to Hanakawa, Hajikuji, Kombaru, Nautiko. So yeah, I mean, we're really just going down the list with all the characters. Like, Shinobu, he doesn't react in any way. Like, think about how, he had this crazy over-the-top reaction to seeing Kombaru naked, right? 2 episodes ago. and he doesn't react at all to Shinobu being naked here, right? There's no, he's just shocked that she's talking, like, I mean, there's too much emotional baggage and too much, like, yeah, there's no reaction in that sense, right? And if we're viewing it in that same way that his God, I forget how exactly I worded it before, but if we view it in the same way that how openly he shows like this ridiculous over the top sexual attraction, or like the crazy way he acts with Hajikuji, for example, and he reacts to her just walking around, right, is like the opposite of this. The way he doesn't react to her literally being naked right in front of him, right? Um, it's completely representative of like how um emotionally like open he feels like he can be with the character, I guess, or like how God, I really don't know what the right word to say for it is, because like obviously that's kind of contradictory with the idea that they both are opening up to each other in this scene, right? Like that's another side to it, right? I guess you could call it how comfortable emotionally he is with the character. I guess that's a better way to say it, right? Because obviously he has this deep bond with Shinobu through their shared trauma. That's you can definitely call emotional. So I guess it's really just how comfortable emotionally he is with the character, right? That's why he doesn't react to Nadeko. The way Nadeko was acting was even more provocative than the way Shinobu is just by existing and being naked here, right? And he didn't react to that at all, So like he actively told himself not to react to it. Um so like yeah, it's that same kind of thing, how he doesn't feel like he can be emotionally comfortable with Nadeko because of the way he views her. Obviously with Shinobu it's that same kind of thing. There's this crazy emotional baggage between them that they kind of, that both of them are unwilling to even really talk about in this scene. They both kind of shut it down in a way that's preventing Araragi from feeling like he is emotionally comfortable with Shinobu, And that's representative in the way that he reacts to her in this scene, where you would expect, with the way Araragi has acted with like Hajikuji and Hanakawa, some other characters he does feel emotionally comfortable with, like you would expect him to not have no reaction to a girl appearing naked before him, right? It's been specifically established that he doesn't have no reaction to that with the way he reacted to Kombaru 2 episodes ago, But in this case, he does, and I think it's clear, like, yeah, I think the analogy between his reaction in situations like this and his emotional closeness, comfortability with the character is like, yeah, it is more clear than ever for me. It makes complete sense to me. So, yeah. Anyway, so Shinobu, now that we're done with all that rambling, so Shinobu, for one, the animation in this scene is like crazy, but we almost bring it up. Araragi almost wants to talk about it, right? He, obviously, like that's the first, this whole thing that's been going on between them for, just think about the thoughts Araragi must have had ever since Kizu 3 about Shinobu and their situation that he blames himself for, that he thinks he put her in. Yeah, I mean it's rough, and he wants to talk about it. Shinobu kind of shuts it down in a way. Cuz like, I don't know, what are you even going to talk about? It's not it's a very heavy topic. I don't know what they would even say. Like, she doesn't, it's not really that she's shutting it down, but she's just trying to form this preemptive understanding between them so they can at least like function having a relationship again without having to address all of the stuff that happened at the end of Kizu, because Shinobu just kind of sums it up as, they'll never forgive each other, and that's fine, and we're just, that's just gonna be how it is, right? So it's rough, I guess, but this is obviously like Shinobu willing to reconnect with Araragi is surprising in a way, because like it's almost like she's admitting that she was wrong, right? Like if we're viewing it as like her pretending because now we know she was pretending, pretty much. Pretending to be this sulking vampire husk who can't speak and can't do anything. We know she's pretending to do that probably just to try and convince Aragi to kill her, right? Because she asks again at the end of this episode. And I guess she's given up on it, right? Aragi wasn't going to do it, you know? I wonder if the fact that she was in his shadow and could, like, hear his thoughts, as she said, I wonder if that's a lot of what is to do with why she gives up on it now, you know? I don't know. Just maybe she got some perspective about how he's thinking about the situation and how there's no way he's gonna kill her, you know. But either way, just the fact that she is willing to reconnect with Aragi like this and give up on her, you know, sulking in the corner to get him to kill her thing is kind of surprising, you know, because she is a very haughty and I mean, almost kind of narcissistic person, you know. So yeah, I don't know. It is surprising to me that she would be willing to do this, because Aragi would never. I mean, I guess it was her own behavior, really, that was the issue. You know, Aragi was never going to try and reconnect with her because he thought there was nothing there left to reconnect with, right? So it is her making the first step to reconnect with him, which is, yeah, I don't know. It's nice, I guess. Hmm. Oh God, I don't know. It's so much stuff between these two that is, oh God, I'll just have to see their future interactions and what Aragi is going to be thinking. I just wonder if, like, you know, there's the idea that Shinobu has been representative of this, like, of the worst case scenario thing with Aragi's whole idea of what human relationships are. The idea that like, forming a relationship with another person will, you know, weaken you as a human. You won't be yourself anymore. And Shinobu, being that husk of a vampire who can't do anything, was like a perfect representation of that, of like him doing that to another person, you know? And I just wonder if it's gonna help his mental state now that he knows that Shinobu isn't actually like that, you know? That Shinobu is clearly still her own person. She is still calling him master, which is interesting. I feel like that's not going to help, honestly, with Aragi's mental state in regards to that whole idea. Um, but I feel like it will have a positive effect on Aragi and how he views this whole situation. The fact that Shinobu isn't actually in the state that she appeared to be in for, like, all of Bake, you know? Anyway, so it's the Wreath Firebee that is affecting his colossal sister. Which, for one, is weird. Like, we haven't had an aberration that's just, like, attacked someone like this, right? I mean, there's the snakes in Nautico Snake that attacked Nautico for seemingly no reason, right? As in, no reason as in, like, there wasn't some kind of underlying emotional issue that they were representative of. I think there actually was. I think it has to do with the fact that she activated them on herself in the first place, right? Because that is what caused it, right? You know, I don't have enough of an understanding of Nautico's character to really say more than that. But I feel like in this case, this Wreath Firebee, it feels even more so of an aberration just attacking someone, in a way that we haven't seen before, right? Like, there always has to be some reason that an aberration afflicts someone. So what would be the reason for it afflicting Karen, you know? I mean, the way that they set it up, it almost sounds like there isn't one, you know? If it's just Kaiki just set it on her and made it attack her. Unless, I guess, you could just view it in some, like, way of, like, well, I don't know. I guess there could still be a reason behind it. And it's just going to be kind of like a meta narrative reason and not like a, you know, literally in-universe reason for the aberration attacking her. But I still feel like we haven't seen that. So, just that combined with everyone calling Kaiki a fraud, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what to think about it. I don't know what to think about it. It's weird. It feels like it almost breaks the rules in a way of what we understand how aberrations work. But But maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'm just maybe seeing how it afflicted Karen in the first place, assuming we will get to see that, will clear that up for me. I don't know. I don't know. So, yeah, so Shinobu was rambled at by Oshino for months about aberrations. That's how she knew about the Wreath Firebeat, which I think is funny. It makes me feel like Oshino must have known that she was faking it the whole time, that she couldn't talk, right? Because why would Oshino be rambling on to Shinobu that whole time if there was nothing there and there was no one to talk to, you know? So, hmm. And yeah, Shinobu says here, like, you're really tough on your own family, when Aragi is being obviously, like, kind of hypocritical about this whole thing. But, like, I wonder if it's him being tough on them or him just him holding himself to a lower standard than other people, you know? I don't know. Or a higher standard? It's just weird. The way he views himself is just weird. He holds himself to a lower standard in some ways and a higher standard in other ways, like in terms of how he expects himself to be helping other people. He thinks that's like his duty because he thinks he's worth less than others, right? But for other people, like he sees the value in Karen. So he thinks that her putting herself at risk to help other people is like a bad thing, you know, even though he doesn't for himself, right? So I don't know if it's really him being tough on other people. I think it's pretty normal to worry about your family like that. It's just him being tough on other people, on his family, in comparison to himself. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, Kaiki used a supernatural monster to poison Karen. That's just weird. You know? Yeah, Kaiki's a fake and a con man, and then Shinobu says there's no reason a fake can't do what the real thing would. Which, like, oh god, I'm gonna have to think. This is like a new avenues to think about here. Like, what does that even mean? No reason a fake can't do what the real thing would. I mean, what can we apply that to? Like, Karen, obviously. Aragi called Karen a fake. Um, like, in terms of her, you know, she's not strong enough to change things or whatever. She's right, but she's not strong. That's what Aragi thinks about himself as well. Um, hmm. But yeah, there's no reason they can't do what the real thing would, I suppose. I guess we could also think of it in terms of like Aragi himself and like his whole like feeling like he doesn't fit in with his family thing, right? You could imagine that in terms of like him being a fake, right? Um, and I think it's pretty clear that he's still, you know, I guess that in terms of that, it's like we have to view it through Aragi's deranged perspective. So like we have to call him a fake because he thinks of himself as a fake, right? But it's obvious that he's still doing like he's still a member of the family. He still fits in with the family even if he thinks of himself as a fake, you know. So I guess he is doing what the real thing would, you know. But I guess by that with that metaphor, it's almost like you have to accept Aragi's viewing of himself as a fake. So I don't know. I don't know. It's possible to be a fake to be more real than the real thing, which like what does that even mean? I don't even know. That's a rough one. We are getting some. Did Oshino give Shinobu philosophy lessons too? Like, man, rough. I'll write that down. I'll keep it in mind, and we'll apply that to things that happen. I'm sure. Hmm. And yeah, and Shinobu says this stuff about how they're not even human. They themselves are a supernatural monster. I just don't. Uh but like in like a metaphorical sense, right? Not like literally, you know? Like surely we aren't saying Kaiki is literally like Kaiki is an aberration, right? Surely not. Um I don't know. I don't know. Hmm. 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 So Shinobu can't eat the fire bee. Makes sense. I think this is funny. Like she says, it's been a long time since I had a bath, 400 years. That was when 400 years ago was when she had the first minion, so. Or the first minion was around, so I think that's kind of funny. Assuming that is the intended connection. Um, now, like, this is very funny. When Skiki comes in and comes back with she's prepared for battle. She has a knife and a shield, so. And then, yeah, end of the episode, we bring up Shinobu kind of brings up this final idea. It's almost like a last-ditch effort to get Aragi to kill her. We don't know how long his lifespan is going to be. And she brings up how, everyone around him is going to die, and it's just going to be him. Which, for one, it makes me feel like she must be talking from personal experience, right? Because that's probably what happened to her. She says that she used to be human in Kizu. And anyone who goes from being human to being an immortal is going to go through that experience, how everyone around you is just going to die. Yeah, because I feel like it's kind of like a cliche thing about immortality, that, like, it's probably hard to understand how much of a downside it would be without actually experiencing it, That's why I imagine that Shinobi probably has. And yeah, Aragi doesn't even consider it. He shuts it down immediately. So, I do like, we live until we die. Sure, that sounds good to me. If no more killing ourselves. I guess, like, again, we're kind of in the situation where, Aragi can't kill himself. So, he's an immortal vampire. So, And what Aragi says at the end is, we came to a reconciliation, which, I don't know if I would call it that. Your relationship has barely started to come back, I guess. I don't really think there's been a deeper understanding of the emotional baggage you two have, but I'm sure you'll get there. This is the first step, and it's a very big first step. So, man. Okay, well, that was a ridiculously long discussion. I didn't realize it was that long. It's gonna be like over an hour, but oh well, that's fine. It was a very good episode. That's one of my favorite episodes, probably. I don't even know what to say. Like, that was so good. Making like an episode tier list would be impossible. I don't know. This was a really good episode, though. So, yeah, I guess if you guys enjoyed, leave a comment, tell me what you guys think. Yeah, that was a good one. And I'll see you guys in the next one.